I'm
Rawr!
angry about pets.
When did we all get this dumb? Almost only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and nuclear warfare. I don't see any bodies, so it doesn't count.
I'm angry about pets.
I'm the chef. I want to hear one thing. Yes, chef.
Come on, man. Use your brain.
The Why I'm Angry podcast starts now.
All right, it's the Why I'm Angry podcast. Back here in the Freestyle Man Cave studio. This is the chef, and it's been a week. A lot of stuff's gone on. Just been one of those week and a halves or so. My wife had a birthday, so that took up some time. I had a water pump issue where I tore down everything and then decided it was just a $20 switch. Probably spent around $1,000 in parts and then had to return them all to see that it was just the flow switch, or pressure switch. So learned a ton, saved some money in the long run, but a lot of that money had to be returned to me after store credits and things of that nature, and we're just straight returns. So just one of those deals where we live, we learn, we get some of those things going on, and we find out what's going on. So with that, we've got a pretty big show here. We've got, Gulf of America. We got Australians turning themselves into, or renaming themselves. We've got real life Jonah, or not a real life, but a modern day Jonah. All kinds of things. And we'll be getting into that in just a few minutes. And here's our first break. All right. Coming out of the break here. Make sure you're getting on, follow, liking, and sharing us. Make sure that if you have any comments or words of wisdom, anything that any articles that you may want us to hit, even tonight, I've got the email address up. Hit us up on the Why I'm Angry podcast at gmail.com, or hit us in the comments. Shoot me a link so I can at least see the article. I'll try to vet it through in a comment time, in a commercial break time, I guess, and then from there we'll then we'll get it on here and we'll talk about it and break it down. So first thing, it's been really crazy, really kind of interesting to see, you know, how Trump is interacting with the new media, the media outlets, how the media outlets are reacting with Trump, partially because of how they have flip flopped a bunch, and how all of a sudden now you got Google, you got Apple, you've got all these guys. Facebook is now catering to the Trump agenda, making themselves more transparent. And I don't know whether that's because they're trying to circumvent, being surprise attacked, or they're just trying to and trying to keep themselves in business, or if they're just, in one of those deals where it's just like, um, they're just trying to, stay relevant. I think that could be part of it also, is just, look, we cater to who's in charge and where the money's at and where the funds are, and we're finding out the funds are in USAID, but or were in USAID. So one of the stories that popped up that I thought was just, I mean, it's not that big a deal, but it feels like it's more than what it is, I guess. But it's the America's new Gulf, and so we're now going to call the Gulf of Mexico. Um, we're going to call it the Gulf of America. And I know that that's not a super new news story, um, but it there's been some things like Apple Maps. They've now changed the Gulf of Mexico on Apple Maps in America to the Gulf of America. So Americans, anyone in the American time zones, in the kind of the satellite zone or tower zone in America, will see the Gulf of America. Um, and you might say, like, isn't there like this process of just changing that? And there is. Normally, you go through to change names, or whoever the group that kind of determines the names is the U.S. Board of Geographic Names, Board on Geographic Names. And kind of what he did was just basically, the wording was that he would like them to adopt the change, um, for federal buildings, for federal talking abouts, I guess, for things that would mention the Gulf of Mexico would now mention it as the Gulf of America. So in Mexico, Apple Maps, Google Maps, Google has also adopted it. Google Maps would also, so in Mexico, they'll say the Gulf of Mexico still, because I guess the Mexican government still wants to lay claim, which they own just about half. I think we own just about half, and then of the um, coastline, and Cuba owns about a tiny portion that kind of takes up enough that we don't own a full half. Mexico doesn't really own a full half, and so yeah, so Cuba has a little claim to it also. I mean, the Gulf of America kind of makes it feel like it's ours, but at the same time, it makes sense because it is the Gulf of North America. Like, we don't normally call, unless it's fully engulfed in a country. Normally, it is, even the Persian Gulf isn't that's not a country. Persia is not a country anymore. It's a region, and it's not even a continent really. I mean, maybe they should call it like the Asian Gulf or European Gulf, I guess, because it's kind of in between that area. But anyhow, they it is what it is. It makes sense to call it the Gulf of America, um, just about the same as it makes some sense of calling it Gulf of Mexico. I mean, they could call the little gulf on the other side the Gulf of, like, I think it's Guadalajara or something like that. They could call that the Gulf of Mexico because it is fully enveloped by Mexico. But there's things. Um, but I mean, at least we're not starting a war with Panama in this. I mean, maybe Mexico, but I don't think they care that much. I mean, other than the fact that on some maps outside of Mexico and the U.S., it will be called the Gulf of Mexico / America, or Gulf of Mexico / Gulf of America. So I mean, it's going to get wordy and kind of convoluted, but what can you do? What can you say? So, with that being said, it's just interesting to see that, you know, if it would have been Trump saying this, you know, 2 years ago, we would have laughed at him. I mean, people would have laughed at him, and Apple and Google would not have changed anything. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, I don't. It just seems like it's convenient that now they're like, let's listen to him to the T, blah blah blah. Let's follow everything he says. Um, and I wonder if that's a consequence of, the whole Doge deal, where they're jumping into different departments and making sure that everything's efficient, making sure that we're getting rid of things that aren't, um, and things like that. So, in other news, I mean, we've got Trump and Putin. We're on a call this week. I think yesterday. Basically, they're talking about, or this is laying the foundation, hopefully, for ending the war in Ukraine. It's hard. It's going to be hard for Putin to just set it down and not, and Ukraine not consider this a victory. Just because they weathered the storm. And so I see this as one of those tough deals where, Putin's either going to have to keep the land that he's taken to consider it a victory, or he's going to he's going to he's going to end up falling on it and saying that it was a loss. And I don't think that's going to happen. I just don't think that he allows himself to have lost to a Ukraine, a country that is like a tenth the size of his country, and was at one point a part of the country, and has somehow convinced their people that they are ardently against being part of Russia. And I understand it, because Russia doesn't have a great track record of treating your people right. They don't have, I mean, even with their socialist system, people stand in lines for healthcare. They stand in lines for food. There is a lot of lack there. There's a lot of drugs, and there's a lot of I guess shady dealings on the side. And there's mob. There's different criminal aspects. Some bribery. They've got a history of of bribery and that. And so it just, just to just stay out of that. I mean, I'm not saying that Zelensky is any better, or that the government of Ukraine is a ton better, because you can point at a maybe less than honest vote in Ukraine for Zelensky. So all in all, it's a tough situation. It's a tough decision. It's a tough area, and maybe that one is just as tough, if not. I mean, honestly, it's like a fight with your brother, and you don't want to back down as the older brother, as the big brother, and say, listen, you did good. You fought a good fight. Um, we're gonna pull out, and we we'll assess this deal later. Where Gaza Strip and all of that doesn't feel quite as easy as that. It doesn't feel quite as. I mean, it's a 6,000-year-old battle. I mean, it's a before Jesus. It's a David fought in this battle. It's a Saul fought off these people. It's not the same. Yes, it's not the same Israel as the chosen ones, as the promised land, as the Abrahamites and all of that. But it is the same people. It is the Israelites, and it is the Palestinians. It is the Israelis and the Palestinians, and maybe those people aren't. It's not the Jews and the Palestinians. It's the Israelis, and it's been around for a long time. And I always joked that if the Israelis stopped blowing up buildings, then the Palestinians would stop having rocks to throw at the Israelis, because you always saw, Palestinians or Israelis going through town with tanks and things of that, riot shields and things, and you see Palestinians out on the street throwing rocks. And I don't know whether that's some kind of propaganda to get people to just rally behind them. But I just don't know whether that's the propaganda, or that is actually what was going on. Whether they're always just throwing rocks out there and things like that. So sorry, I'm having a little trouble with switching screens, but so I don't know whether that's but that's always what we saw. That's always what we saw on the news. That's always the what they were portraying. And I don't know whether they were trying to portray it as we should all worry about the Palestinians. Um, and in all honesty, we should worry about Palestinian people, because people are people, and we need to be humanitarians first, I guess. At the same time, if it's the terrorist organization Hamas that is out there, or Hezbollah that's out there blowing things up and fighting people, and maybe they're the military for Palestine, or maybe they're the military for Iran, maybe whatever they are, then that's a different story. And that's not a bunch of people that are are just wanting freedom. That's an organization fighting a country and fighting against their sovereignty. So um, again, just get on here. Make sure that you're following, liking, and sharing. I got to go into another break here, but while you're there, while we're on break, while you're just kind of thinking about things, send us an email, shoot us a comment in the comments here, and you know, we'll get some conversations back and forth, and keep this thing going. All right, let me hit some buttons here, get some things off my face. Again, get on our email here, whyamangrypodcast@gmail.com. Get your voice heard, and let us know what you're thinking. Give us anytime we miss articles or whatever. Let us know that we missed an article. There it is. I was looking at the wrong camera. Some reason I had my A camera up and it kept showing me all this craziness. I was trying to figure out why the live programming wasn't showing all of the graphics and things around, and so that's up now. Sorry about no music this week so far. We got into the music and all of that, and I got a couple. I've got a couple royalty-free songs and things like that, but we got hit by royalty things on it, so we're still working on getting all of that set up. Looks like today they approved Robert F. Kennedy, RFK Jr., for the Secretary of the Health Secretary nomination. Hit the button, come on. And so that starts that. That's he's gone on and he's they also confirmed Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence. And those were the two as a 52-48 vote. And so both of those have been confirmed now. As of the one paper I got, it hadn't been confirmed yet. RFK Jr. hadn't been confirmed yet, but they're two of the most at-risk nominations. Even my father-in-law, who was like, "Yeah, we're getting them," he was a little worried about RFK Jr. He wasn't quite sure on that one. So it'll be interesting to see, because RFK Jr. was super against, even though he was like a Democrat, he was super against, the vaccines, the vaccine mandates, especially, like all kinds of different little things in that. He's way against the artificial sweeteners. He's against a lot of the chemicals that we use to keep our food lasting as long as it does, and just different things like that you wouldn't think about. That you wouldn't think that our country was lackadaisical on things, but we've approved a ton of different drugs, a ton of different additives to our food, a ton of different things that other countries have either not approved at all or have gone back and said, no, this isn't good for you, after the studies have come out that it could cause cancer or it could cause this or that. A lot of them have fought that and have gone back to saying, no, this isn't good. So yeah, so there. Those guys are in. Let me check through here. I knew there was a couple more. Super Bowl pulls in a record of $800 million in ad revenue for Fox. Sean Combs, $100 million defamation lawsuit now against NBC, claiming false allegations against him in a documentary. If you've not seen the documentary, I haven't seen it yet on Peacock. But yeah, now he's suing them for $100 million in defamation. The only thing, like, this won't go through until his case is done. So I mean, because you can't prove it isn't true, or it is true, until they prove it is or isn't true. So one other interesting event, I guess, kind of making something irrelevant relevant again, was President Trump was named the chair of the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts in a unanimous vote by newly appointed board of trustees. The reason that there were newly appointed board of trustees is because he fired them all. He comes a week after Trump removed Democratic members of the board. Like, if you've looked at it over the last, if you've followed, and I haven't, other than from way far. I mean, I'm like in the nosebleed seats, and I've just happened to glance across it because I glance across the, all kinds of news. But I mean, they've recognized just the craziest of crazy things, and just it's become very, just there's no relative worth to it, so maybe with a different set of eyes on it, maybe with somebody that is actually worried about, it isn't just trying to push an agenda, that maybe this will come back to being a prestigious award. It used to be a prestigious group. To be honored by the Kennedy Center was like a life achievement type thing, or you had one really great year, or you just acted, you were just the top of your field. But it's become an activism group. If you were the right person, you donated enough money to the right campaign, if you you told the right story, then that was getting you in. So for what it's worth, Trump is now the chairperson of the Kennedy Center. Watch out. Taking over the Kennedy Center now. Taking over, calling the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America. I mean, we're a quick slide to him being a ruthless dictator here. Quick slide. Short slide here. Underwater observatories detect that the most an energetic neutrino to date, known as the ghost particle. An estimated 10 trillion neutrinos pass through your body every second. So extra charge, energetic charge in the underwater. Sea turtles. This was kind of funny. Sea turtles they found that sea turtles create a mental map of the Earth's magnetic fields to help guide them through foraging areas, and studies find the animals also dance when sensing food-related magnetic fields. I mean, who isn't super happy when they find food, or when they find the food that they really like and things? But on their mental maps, will they call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America? Will they switch to? Can Trump get a hold of those guys, so that the sea turtles know where they're going? I think he should get on that and get that going. Pretty quick here. Okay. 8 inspector generals sue Trump administration for allegedly violating federal law by terminating a group of government watchdogs last month without notifying Congress. So, Trump fired a bunch of governmental watchdogs. 8 governmental watchdogs are suing over their mass firing, saying that the lawsuit filed Wednesday asks a judge to declare the firing unlawful and restore the inspector generals to their position at the agency. The watchdogs are charged with rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse at government agencies, and playing a nonpartisan oversight role over trillions of dollars in federal spending and the conduct of millions of federal employees. According to the lawsuit, the presidents can remove inspector generals, but the Trump administration did not give Congress legally required 30-day notice, something that even top Republicans decried. Well, here's the deal. Like, he created the Department of Government Efficiency, which I feel like kind of goes hand in hand with this group. And obviously this group is missing something, because they missed a lot of what the USAID was doing, in basically, the USAID, if you follow that, if you work to, go back on that, and I haven't done a full case study on it yet, but we're working on doing the research here. USAID has been a giant money laundering scheme. I mean, so this group of watchdogs, they deserve to be fired. You didn't do your job right. You didn't do your job well. And it's time to go. See you later. Bye. So anyhow, the firing of the independent nonpartisan inspector general was a clear violation of law, said Michael Massal, the former inspector general of the Department of Veteran Affairs. The IGs are bringing this action for reinstatement so that they can go back to working to work fighting fraud, waste, and abuse on behalf of the American public. At the time of the firing, Senator Chuck Grassley, Republican of Iowa, said there may have been good reason for the termination, but the Congress needed to know. So the biggest thing with Congress, the only reason Congress decried was that they weren't let know ahead of time. Following a warning from his office that the administration's dismantling of the agency had made it all but impossible to monitor $8.2 billion in unspent humanitarian funds, the role of the modern-day Inspector General dates to post-Watergate Washington, when Congress installed offices inside agencies as an independent check against mismanagement and abuse of power. I mean, it's a good... The Inspector Generals have been a good thing, but again, why haven't they found, the corruption that has been there? I mean, you can't tell me that it doesn't seem like the FBI or the IRS or things of that agencies of that nature have been militarized or weaponized against political adversaries. I mean, just that alone doesn't really speak well for what's been going on, and it doesn't really speak well for those guys as a group. Yeah, that doesn't speak well for them as inspector generals, because if you look at what they said in the very beginning of what they were what their deal was, is they're rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse at government agencies. I mean, what were the last 4 years? Were these guys asleep? Were these guys just these? I know what it is. I figured it out. Don't worry about it. Don't send me messages telling me exactly what they do. But if you would like to, it's why I'm angry podcast at gmail.com. Right there. Right there. Right there. And if not, I figured it out. These guys were all part of the work from home group. They were working remotely. They didn't see it because they weren't home, or they weren't there. They were at home. And so they've been called back, and they got called back just in time to get fired, interestingly enough. But, just in time. So I figured it out. It's not their fault. They were working from home, and they got caught up. They didn't see it because they were, they just couldn't see it. So, the Coast Guard releases recordings thought to be the sound of the 2023 Titanic submersible implosion. It took 2 years to figure it out. More than 90 million people under winter weather advisories or warnings as snowstorms sweep across the U.S. Midwest and East Chicago, Detroit, and Kansas City, Missouri, among other places to be hit by the largest snowfall. I don't think we're supposed to be hit by all that. We're supposed to get some rain this weekend, but I don't think I think we're too far south. I know that we have family in West Virginia that got a bunch, and it said Midwest. The storm barely skimmed the Midwest, but dumped more than 6 inches of snow on Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport, and twice that amount on parts of Virginia and West Virginia. Residents were shoveling porches. Yeah, we had the leaf blowers out, clearing off driveways and things of that nature. They were having fun in West Virginia. Some of the family in that. They live up in the mountains and stuff, so they get a lot of that snow, and so they were just playing around. So yeah, I guess we're gonna get missed, unfortunately. I mean, I like some snow. It has been kind of a snowy. I mean, we still got a little bit of snow sitting around in piles because it's been cold, which is okay with me. I don't mind the cold too badly. Today I felt like it was cold. Maybe it's just because it was cool in the house a little bit down in the studio here, and just kind of gave me the chill. So, well, I think next segment we're gonna do a new segment called a uh, a little exercise in hooliganism. We're gonna talk about a little soccer, a little bit of sports. Um, so yeah, it'll be fun. Let's we'll see you in just a few minutes, and like I said, get on, follow, like, and share. That helps us. Keep our things going. It helps us get support. It helps show advertisers and that we're viable, that we are getting their names out when things go on, and just helps us out, and it's free to you guys. All you got to do is push the button when you're listening, and help us out. Just hit that button. So another quick break here, and we'll be right back. All right, we are back, and just a little exercise in hooliganism here. We're gonna talk about some of the goings on around the world in soccer. If you have a question of rules, anything like that, I mean, I'm going to try to get set up and give you guys kind of a tutorial. Today I was having a little issue with getting everything completely set up, and so this is kind of a work in progress still, and we're just gonna go with it. I really enjoy soccer and other sports. Right now, we're walking into the very beginning of the MLS season. I think it starts on February 22nd for at least the Columbus Crew, which I'm a fan of, obviously, with Columbus Till I Die as a chant. And with that, as a Columbus Crew fan, we are opposite. I'm not sure. I'm not real sure what we are. I like to be, you know, I like to be excited about the season, but I'm slightly pessimistic about the season because we've lost two of our best goal scorers, in Christian Ramirez and Cucho Hernandez, and just like right like that. It's not like we kind of knew that Cucho was leaving probably. We were hoping it was, at least we would get the summer with him and then maybe lose him in August. Um, just fair fact in soccer, if you don't watch soccer very often or whatever, there is kind of a there are windows that you can trade in. And that's kind of the difference between like American baseball, where yes, there's a no trade time frame and stuff like that, which you can still kind of get around, and I think you can still kind of half get around the windows. Like certain countries have different windows. Like right now in the U.S., you can trade anytime. I mean, it's kind of like the baseball, basketball, football. You don't have like you can trade between the teams in the country, but to go internationally, you have to wait until like they have a January window, which is the month of January. Makes it easy to remember. And then you have the summer window, which I think is August. And I think it's either just all of August, or it's part of July and August. I don't remember exactly what time frame that is. But that's considered the end of the season for Europe, because Europe plays throughout the winter, and we play throughout the summer. So the January, it's good for us to bring in people, because we're bringing in people who are not in season. But it's tough for us during the beginning of the season, the January window, to bring people in, because we're bringing them from a team that is already playing, or that wants to keep that player or the team together. Not too many teams are willing to, unless you got that team that's not really pushing. And then they kind of they'll trade a player off to make some money or something like that. Or you got a team that spent a bunch of money, who didn't you know who didn't end up making the grade, um, and then they're willing to give up a player, or try to sell on a player to make some to cover some costs. Maybe they got a player that's playing really well or scoring a bunch of goals or something like that. Tomorrow, or today, if you're listening to this Friday morning, Premier League, we have Brighton and Chelsea. They're at 8 o'clock. Um, Brighton, if it's at Brighton. Brighton has been pretty much, they've got a 5-game unbeaten against Chelsea. And they're fighting pretty good at home. Manchester City and Newcastle are playing on Saturday at it'd be 3 o'clock, I think, our time, their time. I don't know what the time is on it, but maybe it's their time. It's 3 o'clock, so it'd be super early in the morning for us. And Man City they've lost just one in their last 34 games against Newcastle. But Newcastle has been they've been moving up, been playing really good. They won each of the last 4 league games on the road. You got Tottenham and Manchester United on Sunday. So another good battle. Oh, and then so the Premier League is talking about getting it's called PSR, which is, let's see if I can find out. It's a line judge thing. Oh no, that's the sorry, that's the is a squad cost ratio. So they're trying to do, it's their fair rules so that they can kind of keep clubs from getting too much bigger than other clubs. They have, instead of having like a salary cap, they only have so much that they can lose, and so it's related to player costs. This description of it isn't real good, but they're going to delay the induction of the PSR rules, implementing a squad cost ratio rule, which is pretty much near unanimously implemented, which would limit clubs to spending a set percentage of their income on player-related costs. However, it was agreed that issues must be ironed out before its full induction. Right now, the league's profit sustainability rules, which is the PSR, which allows the club to lose no more than 105 million in the 3-year cycle, will remain in force until next season. And basically, what that is like if you spend $100 million on a player or $200 million on a player, then you have to make that money up. So either by selling another player off or by bringing in the tickets, winning cups. I mean, some of these cups that they win, they make so much money. Ad revenue. The league gives you so much for TV revenue, for all the streaming rights on Peacock, all of the streaming rights at on whatever channels that they're on in the UK, or around the world. It's a pretty lucrative deal. I think the top so many get a couple hundred, get a couple 100 million or something like that. I did see that a while back, but they're going to go to this squad, this squad cost ratio, which would limit their spending down to a percentage of their income. Which to me, I don't know whether that's good or bad. I don't know whether that helps anybody, because that it feels like to me that it keeps small clubs small. Where at least with this, you could go out and you could spend a ton the one season to get yourself going. And then if you made money the next 2 years, or if you whatever, then you would never get, you'd never hit the issue, the PSR. And so you'd be fine. I mean, there are teams like Leicester City who's spent $100 million or lost almost $100 million every year for the last 3 years, and somehow, because of whatever they do to flip the books around or whatever, they figured out how to stay viable and not end up paying an extra tax, because they basically, it's strange, they lost too much money, so they're going to find them even more money, or they're going to take points away from them in the season. So everybody gains either 3 points for a win or 1 point for a tie, and so they're going to deduct points from them. So it gets convoluted. It gets convoluted quickly. One of the things that just to bring it back to the U.S. and what's going on here, the USL, there's multiple leagues in the U.S. Even MLS, if you don't follow, is the top league right now. USL has been a league that has kind of gathered all of the under leagues together, and what they're trying to do is build a bigger league. And so in 2026, 2027, they've applied to have a top tier league with relegation coming down. And so I think I don't know exactly what their system is. Whether like Like the MLS is a fully owned entity, kind of like the NFL, where all the owners, they own the team per se. But if one of the teams wanted to leave, like they couldn't just leave the league and join another league. Like in the NFL, it makes sense because there isn't really like, I mean, you could join a Russian league or or Australian football or Canadian football or something maybe, but at the same time, you don't really own the team. The league owns the team and that. And so that's how the MLS is you basically buy stewardship, a fake ownership in the team. I mean, they're paying tons of money to buy into these teams anymore. And to not 100% own the team, kind of, I mean, with baseball, at least you have ownership in the team, and then everybody, it's a collective bargaining deal, the owners and things like that, where it's more, it still doesn't make sense that you're going to leave. I mean, unless you're a minor league team or something like that and you're trying to move up or something, levels and things. But I mean, they've got some independent leagues and stuff like that in baseball. So it kind of mimics that a little bit, I think. But in Europe, if you own the team and you don't do well, you go down a level, or you can join different leagues and things of that nature. But it's basically a tiered system, and so yes, you own the team. I don't. It's not as much of an entity as the MLS, but that's where we're at on it. And so with the USL, they want to start I think it's a 17 league or 20 league team or league right off the bat, and then they're going to do a relegation setup. So, I mean, just think about if it's kind of like if Detroit Tigers weren't good enough this year to be top or to be out of the bottom 2 or 3, they would go down, and maybe the winners of the lower league, maybe somebody like Toledo or Columbus or Birmingham, somebody like that, or Buffalo, Scranton would move up and take that spot, and then they would have a major league team. The thing that makes sense in the UK and doesn't make as much sense in any in the non-UK is that in the UK you literally have like Everton and Liverpool are from Liverpool. And then you also have, other teams like Manchester City and Manchester United, and those guys are only like 20 miles from Liverpool. Like all of your teams, which there's a lot of them. There's at least 20 per league, and they've got 5 tiers. So you got maybe 100 teams that are playing within an area the size of Georgia and part of South Carolina, maybe. And I'm feeling like I'm giving them some, but that's the space of the deal. 5-6 hours total to get to anywhere in the league. And here, you've got areas where you couldn't drive in a day. Like I couldn't drive from Washington D.C. to L.A. in barely a day. I mean, I'm sure 22 hours, 23 hours. It's maybe it's doable. I don't know. I don't think it is, because think about it. It's 10 hours or so to Philadelphia from here, and to like Phoenix, it's like 19 hours if you drove it straight, which is you can't do unless you've got like, I don't know, a 2,000-mile range vehicle. Because you'd have to stop at least and get gas and stuff like that. But if you try to drive 19 hours, I mean, I've done it once and almost died. Almost didn't make it through because of falling asleep and things. But 5-hour energies and Mountain Dews and all can only keep you so long. So, but you know, that's just you just can't. So that makes it tough, especially if like a team, like a Columbus team, went down, and then then you're no longer a major league team. I mean, that's what the deal. In England, a lot of your teams, though, they still have a good, they still have a good league underneath. Like the Champions League is probably as good. You know, it may be a step above even the MLS. I mean, I would say, some of the MLS teams could compete to a point in the Champions League. But I would think that the Champions League overall is a better league. Um, and I think at the same point in the MLS, some of the teams could compete at the level of Premier League eh, from time to time. But I think at the same point they would struggle to stay in the league. The depth in the MLS is not as good. You don't have backup players as much, and I mean one thing I will say, just kind of finishing it out. Relegation is cool. USL, we'll see how this goes over the next few years, but US U17s playing for US the U17 World Cup here next year or 20 yeah, next year 2026. um I mean, we just crushed the US Virgin Islands 22-0. And like I looked at the score and I'm like, wow, we didn't take our foot off the gas at all. They do say like there is a, part of the tie is goal differential. But then one of the players from the Columbus Crew, Columbus Crew 2, his 16-year-old kid scored 10 goals. And so that's why I'm saying, as bringing it full circle here, optimism is what I'd like to be. I'm pretty skeptical about what is going to happen this season. I I have a tough time seeing this 16-year-old kid jump into the MLS and do what Cucho Hernandez and Christian Ramirez has done. But he is a strong physical center forward that we honestly haven't had for a while. I mean, Cucho was strong and he could get you, but he's that guy that makes the play. He's the guy that steps back a little bit, holds it up, moves the ball around. He has, close to as many assists as he does goals. He's just part of everything. And this kid is not as much part of everything as he is kind of that that central guy that kind of holds up the crowd, holds up the back line, and keeps them legit. He's fast. He's already 6 foot tall at 16, so he's got a couple more years to grow those couple more inches. That gets you to big, imposing forward Um, and honestly, you know, excitement for the 2030 World Cup and the U17s, they're exciting. I mean, they're stepping on the backs of these guys that we call already the golden generation, and watch out. Pochettino gets in there and gives us a tough, um, the American outlook. Argentinians, they have a level that they play at. They have a swagger to to how they play. Um, and we get some of that swagger, we get some of that back because we at one point we played with so much swagger we didn't have the skill level to really keep ourselves in that, and that was it. So that being said, we're just keeping that real. So again, a new break coming on. Thanks for kind of putting up with the hooliganism. We like, this is just an exercise in hooliganism. We're just kind of starting this out. This will get better. Hopefully, it doesn't get worse. But, it's just fun for me. I like to talk about soccer, and I want to talk about the 10 goals that a Columbus Crew player just scored. And hopefully, we see him at least score goals in Crew 2 and keep things going. I mean, just keep progressing. I hate to get excited about players. I mean, in any sport you get excited about this kid, this phenom, and then you push them so hard, and then all of a sudden they don't pan out or they don't get to the level. I mean, I feel like if you're a soccer fan, if you followed soccer in any way, Ronaldinho is one of those stereotypical didn't he was great. I mean, he was a phenomenal player. Don't get me wrong, but he wasn't as big as Ronaldo, number 10, Brazilian Ronaldo, where he just scored and scored and scored and scored and scored and scored and scored. He wasn't his footwork was phenomenal. He could juggle, he could do he had this just ability. But honestly, when it came down to doing all of the work you had to do to stay fit, to stay, just in top level for a long period of time, he didn't want to do it. He wanted to live life. And you can probably ask Cristiano Ronaldo, you can ask Messi, you can ask even some of the older guys like Pele and those guys, which you can't ask Pele anymore because he's gone. But if you ask them, what did they give up to be in physical shape? That's Tom Brady. What's he given up to be in that physical shape for that long? It, you can, I mean, even you watch the documentary on Michael Jordan. What did he give up? He gave up a lot of life to be the greatest, to work that hard. They said he had to stay in hotel rooms and be there because he was so popular. He was so big. And Ronaldinho, he said he said I want to live life. He wanted, he enjoyed where he was at. He still plays. He still enjoys being a soccer player, and he still enjoys the game, but he enjoys the game. And where he ended up is good for him. I mean, a Ballon d'Or and all of that. He was excited about it. He didn't have to win more than that. And not that he didn't win, but he didn't have to win any more than he did to feel fulfilled. And he didn't, it's just where he was at. So, with that, this is the end of our live show. If you want to follow us any farther than this, you'll have to get on and get on and get to our podcast. We still have a bunch of different articles. I've got an article about Aussie Trump. I've got an article about the modern Jonah, and just some funny things about another half hour of show. that you're going to miss out if you don't get to the podcast. If you want to be a part of the show, and I've said this a few times already, and I apologize if you've been on here the whole time and seen this, but go to the Why I'm Angry podcast at gmail.com. Send us your articles. I'm watching right now, and got a couple here that I'm going to hit in the overtime, and all of that. So get on the Why I'm Angry podcast. Hit us up on whyimangrypodcast at gmail.com. Support us in the comments. You can support us. You can get in and get ad free. You can get all our archives from the last 5 years. We've been around since 2020. Crazy. This is our 6th year in the podcasting. We're trying to become more regular on it. We do it about every week. Last week was a tough week. I tried to get on a couple times and just never got there. So you can understand. But get on, follow, like, and share. Keep it going with the, support with follow, liking, and sharing. And if you want to do a little bit more, just enough to keep us running, $2 a month gets you some backdoor stuff, some things in the background, and will get you, just randomness and things that we like to post, interviews that we do. We'll get you in on some of that stuff. So definitely get in and become a part of that. I am looking for where to go. There it is. Just looking for my recording here so I can stop that. And that's it. Appreciate you guys. Get on here, follow, like, and share us. And, this is the Why I'm Angry podcast. And if you look for us on the Why I'm Angry podcast, you will get even more. So,
Remember to follow, like, and share the Why I'm Angry podcast across all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast. The Why I'm Angry podcast ends now.